On today's American Football Stories episode, we'll look ahead to this weekend's games and give our gambling advice for select college football matchups in Week 6 of the NFL. American Football Stories is brought to you by CoachPaint. CoachPaint's a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips, similar to the graphics you see on TV. CoachPaint offers the ability to clearly tell a straight video while increasing the retention of information in a short amount of time. Up your game with CoachPaint today.
What time is it? Game time! It's gonna be special. They're gonna talk about this forever.
Welcome to American Football Stories.
Puts his head down, crashes and spins, and dives. Touchdown!
Bringing together the many perspectives that make up college football in the NFL.
Football is one of the greatest sports ever invented.
From players and coaches.
Believe, baby, believe, baby.
Hey, we playing to win right here, fellas.
To the front office and scouts.
The public is finally beginning to catch up, but they don't even know half the truth.
Us against the world, let's get it.
Your hosts, Robert Parker and Nick Knudsen, bring you American Football Stories.
Welcome to the American Football Stories podcast brought to you by CoachPaint. Today is October 14th, 2020. I'm Nick Knudsen. My co-host is Robert Parker III. What's up, Rob?
What's up, Nick? How's it going?
You ready to go?
Ready to rock and roll. How about yourself?
I was, but got some news today out of Gainesville, dude. Got some news today. We've been jumping in covering which games are going to be postponed. Number 7, Oklahoma State at Baylor's postponed. Vanderbilt at Missouri. And then another SEC game here. LSU at Florida is the latest postponement of the week. This game's been tentatively rescheduled for the built-in bye week on December 12th, right before the SEC championship. Positive test in the Florida program led to some quarantines in Gainesville. 18 positives among scholarship players and 3 among walk-ons, according to AD Scott Strickland earlier on Wednesday. He said the players and staff members who tested positive are asymptomatic and have mild symptoms. So, Rob, the Gators, there goes the first game for our Gators for COVID, huh?
Yeah, it was inevitable to happen. I knew it was probably going to trickle down in the SEC. We've seen it, the COVID outbreak within the Sun Belt, and we saw it within the Big 12. So it was bound to happen within the SEC, Nick. But I'm glad AD Scott Strickland actually, kind of got ahead of it and saying, we want to play, but unfortunately, with 18 scholarship athletes testing positive, that's a lot of players right there.
Yeah, I think that's something that, it's going to hit everywhere this year. So just got to be ready for it. That's what I worry about. Honestly, like when I saw this with the Big Ten, we're already seeing problems with the NFL. We'll talk about that in a little bit, with the NFL's kind of using up certain dates or certain teams where we're kind of starting to get to a point where there's not much margin for error. So we'll see how it goes. But Florida and LSU no longer being played this weekend and will be played in December, according to the SEC. All right, Thursday. Of course, let me say this too about the Florida LSU. Cross-divisional matchup doesn't have to happen, right? Would be way bigger deal if it were Florida, Georgia. So Florida LSU, that's something that I think if both teams are out of the races, they just may agree not to play that game entirely. We'll see how that goes. All right, Thursday, October 15th, Georgia State at Arkansas State, 7:30 on ESPN. Friday, October 16th, SMU at Tulane, 6 p.m. ESPN. BYU at Houston. We're going to cover this one here, Rob. Friday night, BYU at Houston, 9:30 p.m. ESPN. The Battle of the Cougars, 4-0 BYU. They were able to. They're going down to Houston, who was finally able to play a game last week. BYU played a close one with UTSA. Texas San Antonio makes me a bit nervous to pick the Cougars. They're a 5-point favorite. BYU Cougars, that is. BYU's a 5-point favorite, minus 200 on the money line. The total's at 63. This BYU offense a little bit up and down here. They put up some points in some other games. I'm not sure I like them on the spread. I don't like anyone on the spread, so I'm gonna just go BYU on the money line on this one. What do you think, Rob?
I'm actually going to roll with BYU on the spread, Nick. I know Houston is probably going to be the toughest opponent that BYU's faced so far. But once again, BYU, it has a shot to open this season with 5 straight victories for the first time since 2008. So I think that means a lot to BYU in that program. So I expect BYU to come out and, get it going early. So give me BYU on the spread. I know UTS gave BYU all they can handle. I think they bounced back and, kind of prove to that undefeated record that they're flaunting so far. So I really like BYU on the spread in this one, Nick.
All right, so let's go to Saturday at noon. Clemson at Georgia Tech, noon on ABC. The Tigers just absolutely steamrolled Miami last week. They weren't ready for Clemson. Minus 27.5-point favorite. Tigers rolling Atlanta as a 27.5-point favorite. Minus 3,500 on the money line. 3,500 on the money line, and the over/under total is set at 64 even. I'm interested to see how this young Georgia Tech team plays in this one. They played very well against Louisville last week. Nice bounce back win after a couple losses, especially that Syracuse loss. They just did not look great. But Miami last week goes in. People are trying to hype that game up a little bit. I put some caution on that. One of the few games I was actually right about last weekend. I kind of feel the same way. Tech's had some nice moments this season. I'm not even trying to remotely get excited about this game, but I hate every line here. The minus 27.5, as you like to say, Rob, not enough juice for the squeeze with the minus 3,500. So I'm kind of tempted to go with the under on 64 here. I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, you're right about that spread. That is a lot of juice on that spread with Clemson. I know they had a great win with Miami and they covered the 14-point, but I think this one gets out of hand early, and Dabo takes his foot off the gas and put his second string and third string guys in, and Georgia Tech covers that spread. But one of the things that I'm comfortable with taking is definitely the over. I can see a 42-17, 42-21 game. So I'm comfortable taking that over in this game, Nick.
Oh, you got the over. All right. Over at 64. All right. Yeah, I just think I don't like how Clemson takes their foot off the gas in some games, it feels like. So that's what I don't trust. If Clemson left everyone in there, I'd have no problem picking them on the spread too. But I don't know. This young Georgia Tech team, they might be able to sneak a touchdown to win. All right, Cincy at Tulsa, the Bearcats. Number 8, Cincinnati Bearcats, Rob. Damn, got it. They're working their way up there. Life's good for the AAC when the Big 12, the Big 10 and Pac-12 aren't taking any snaps just yet. So the number 8 Cincinnati Bearcats at noon playing Tulsa on the road. All right, the Bearcats are minus 3.5-point favorites, minus 170 on the money line. Over-unders at 43.5 here. Cincinnati's been steady. Tulsa's coming off an upset over UCF. But I watched some of the game. UCF beat itself a little bit. I like Tulsa. I think Tulsa's got a good defense. They can play a little bit. I just think the Cincinnati team, that it was a sloppy effort we saw from UCF, and we can talk about that a little more when we get to the UCF game in a bit. But I think Cincinnati doesn't make those type of mistakes. And I'm going to go with the Bearcats. I'm going to go with the Bearcats at minus 3.5 on this one.
Yeah, I'm right along with you, Nick. I love the Bearcats with this spread. I think Cincinnati is playing great ball right now, and I love Tulsa. But once again, I think Cincinnati is definitely the favorite for a reason, and they're going to show that this week.
Yeah, those Tulsa corners in particular, they know how to play some ball there. All right, let's go down to South Florida. We'll go to the ACC. Miami, number 13, Miami Hurricanes plays Pittsburgh. They didn't fall too far. Not a big tumble from number 7 after a big loss at Clemson. This at noon on the ACC network. The Canes are 13.5-point favorites, minus 550 on the money line, and the total is at 47.5. Miami has improved, but I'm a little surprised they didn't do more offensively last week against Clemson. I was expecting at least a couple solid drives out of them, especially in the first half, but they were shut down pretty good from the get-go. Pitt, they're coming off 2 disappointing losses to NC State and Boston College. And so before I get into my pick, I'm going to ask you this question. What's more concerning for you? Pitt's defense, the Pat Narduzzi defense that people were high on the first few weeks of the season here, giving up 30 or more in the last 2 games, or Miami's offense being locked down so thoroughly against Clemson last week?
I think it has to be Pat Narduzzi and that defense, if you ask me. Once again, Clemson is a machine, kind of how we talked about Alabama, when they was on their run, dominating, the college football landscape. I think Clemson is there right now. So, losing to Clemson is not that bad of a loss to Miami. But once again, I know Miami's going to be without Brevin Jordan this week, potentially. But at the end of the day, I think Miami has a bounce back game, and they cover the spread against Pittsburgh. I think they have a bitter taste in their mouth for losing like that to Clemson. So I'm gonna take Miami on the spread. I think Derek King bounces back and have a great game, Nick. And he kind of shows what he was supposed to do against Clemson, but not so much because of that defense, that defensive front of Clemson. But yeah, give me Miami on the spread, Nick.
I could see where you're coming from with that, but my issue is that once Miami has the wheels fall off in the past, like they kind of come off all at once, and then they don't bounce back. They haven't been a good bounce back team after a loss, and I think that's what's kind of led to so many mediocre seasons, where even some of the seasons they've gotten off to like 7-0, 8-0 starts, and then they lose a couple games in a row. So it's like I don't trust Miami to bounce back just yet, but Pittsburgh, low-key decent offense with Kenny Pickett there. Over-unders, the total is at 47.5. I think it's extremely attainable. So I think this game could easily get into the 30s with both these teams, both these offenses. So I think that's an easy total. I'm going to take the over at 47.5. All right, let's move on to the SEC. Stick in the noontime slot. Auburn goes to South Carolina. We're not going to cover that one because we are going to cover Kentucky at Tennessee, also in the noontime slot on the SEC network. The Vols come in after this game. They stay ranked number 18 in the country, minus 6-point favorites over Kentucky, minus 230 on the money line. And the total is at 46. Nice win for Kentucky last week, shutting down Mississippi State. 6 interceptions for the Cats. The Vols were flattened at Georgia after a terrible second half, but they played with them. They played with them in that first half. They took a lead to the locker room. The most discouraging thing, I can get over the result with Tennessee, Rob. The most discouraging thing for me, though, was minus 1 yard rushing in 27 attempts against the Dogs. And 3 turnovers, obviously not great, too. But the minus 1 yard rushing really bothers me. Rob, what do you make of Tennessee's Jekyll and Hyde performance last week at Georgia?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It was definitely Jekyll and Hyde performance. But just keeping it with Kentucky and the Tennessee game this week, I will just throw a stat out there for you. The Vols have not lost to the Wildcats inside of Neyland Stadium since 1984. So once again, I think Tennessee bounces back and they stifle Kentucky. That Georgia defense is an elite defense. So for Tennessee to struggle like that in the second half, that doesn't raise too many eyebrows for me, because I think it's going to be a lot of offenses that's going to struggle with that Georgia defense. So once again, I think Jeremy Pruitt and Tennessee bounces back and they beat Kentucky. I really like the over in this one, though. So I'm going to roll with the over in this one, Nick.
Okay, that's over at 46. I'm going to just take Tennessee straight up on the money line because I agree. I think that Georgia defense, Tennessee, they're on the right track. They're still a little overmatched talent-wise when they go play Georgia. We saw the same thing happen with the Gators last year, where that Georgia defense, you feel like you're ready to go and step up, but then that Georgia defense is just another monster. So I'm not going to penalize Tennessee too much. I think Kentucky is certainly capable of winning this game. I'm a big Kentucky, for whatever reason. I've just become a Kentucky homer this year for some reason, but like Kentucky, definitely capable of pulling off a win here. I don't trust either one of those teams with the number though, so I'm just going to take the Volunteers on the money line. Keep it easy on that one. So Tennessee just to win. All right, let's stay on the noon hour. We got Navy goes to East Carolina, Texas State goes to South Alabama on ESPNU. South Florida at Temple, 12 p.m. ESPN Plus. Liberty at Syracuse, 12 p.m. ESPN3. Kansas at West Virginia, noon on Fox. 1:30 hour. Army goes to UTSA, 1:30 CBS Sports Network. Western Kentucky at UAB, 1:30. Louisville at Notre Dame, 2:30 on NBC. Notre Dame is a 17-point favorite on this one, minus 800 on the money line. Total is at 64.5. They gave up a little more than expected against FSU last week. The Irish did. But of those 26 points, FSU scored 17 in the first quarter, 20 were in the first half. So once Notre Dame settled down, they were down 17-14. They end up going on a 28-12 run to finish the game. Not a lot of panic there for me. Just a rough start. That's really it. I picked Louisville to beat Georgia Tech last week, so I was a bit disappointed in their performance, but I think we know who they are. They're a good, not great offense. They're going to score some. You can't hold them out of the end zone entirely, but they definitely don't have a great defense. So because of that offense, I think they'll give up a lot to Notre Dame. I'm not totally that over under is pretty high. So I'm going to just go with the Cards at plus 17 in this one, Rob.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm rolling with the Cards on the plus 17. Once again, you have an explosive quarterback in Malik Cunningham. He can beat you with his arm and his legs. And he has weapons around him. So I think they can put up points against Notre Dame. We saw Florida State put points up against Notre Dame last week. So I think, Louisville's a little bit better, offensive team than Florida State. So I like to have a quarterback that can, run and throw the ball that can keep up. So I think Notre Dame is going to win the game. But once again, if I'm going to put something down, give me Louisville with the points.
All right, let's move on to the 3:30 hour Duke, NC State, 3:30 ESPN 3:30 on ABC. The UCF Knights go to Memphis in the Liberty Bowl. UCF is a minus 3.5 point favorite, minus 160 on the money line. The over and under is set at 73.5. Rob, Memphis pretty good at football, right?
Really good team, really good program over the last,
especially recently,
seasons.
Right? Yeah. UCF, damn good team, but they've definitely had some down years here and there, right? So would it surprise you to know that UCF holds a 13-0 all-time series record against Memphis, dating back to when both teams were in the Conference USA, starting in 2005?
Wow, that's a pretty impressive, winning streak for UCF against Memphis. I tell you that.
I had no idea.
Me either. That was the first for me.
Yeah, I should say that for the did you know? I should have saved that one. All right, so Memphis, they've been close the last two of the last three meetings, though. I liked how the Tigers played SMU. And you got to keep in mind, this is only the third outing of the year for the Tigers right here. Only Memphis' third game of the year after some COVID incidents. UCF, they need to bounce back. This is a must win for them. They're going to stay alive in the conference race. But Memphis is always tough at home. This is a tough game to pick in general. Like I really think UCF can bounce back, but I think one thing we can be certain of, there's gonna be a ton of scoring, and even though the total is just at a massive number at 73.5, I think I'm still gonna take it. Give me the over at 73.5.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of scoring. I think one of the key matchups in this game is, the Memphis wide receivers versus UFC's established secondary. And, I kind of give the edge to UFC secondary. I think they have a bounce back game from last week. So I'm willing to take UCF on the money line in this one and continue the streak going.
14-0 all time against Memphis. That's an unbelievable stat. I couldn't believe that when I found that. Arkansas host Ole Miss, 3:30 ESPN2. I think I know what I'm watching at 3:30. These two teams have been the most. These are the two best stories in the SEC by far. We've talked a lot about disappointments with the defenses and in Baton Rouge and Gainesville in particular, but Ole Miss and Arkansas they're just having fun. They're letting it rip this year. Two good stories. I like Franks. I like Pittman. I like what the Hogs are doing. Ole Miss comes into this game, though, the lane train, minus 1.5 favorites, minus 1.5 favorites, minus 125 on the money line. And the over-under is at 75.5. I mean, it's Ole Miss. I think you always take the over on that. But I just like them. I like this team. I think they've been close in a couple of games. That win at Kentucky gives me confidence. Arkansas show they're going to be no pushover here, but I'm not quite trusting Arkansas with only 1.5. So give me Ole Miss to cover the 1.5 on this one, Rob.
Yeah, I think so. I'm anxious to see how Arkansas bounced back from that tough loss against Auburn. I think they kind of get out the gates pretty slow, and then just like you said, Lane Kiffin in that offense is rolling. It just seems like Matt Corral and John Ross Plumlee is rolling at the quarterback position, and long just that whole offense. So once again, give me Ole Miss on the spread, and I think Lane Kiffin rolls and bounce back for the loss against Alabama.
Eastern Kentucky goes to Troy at 3:30 on ESPN3. Texas A&M goes to Mississippi State, 4 o'clock, SEC Network. A&M, Mississippi State. Look, I mean, I gave my mea culpa a little bit for Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies after they went over the Gators, but man, let's see if they can follow up that performance. How about that? So number 11 Aggies -7 point favorites here, -240 on the money line, and the total is at 54.5. The 54.5 looks tempting, but when you consider Mississippi State's offensive output the last 2 weeks, 3 interceptions at Arkansas, and I think it netted 14 points, and then a 2-point effort at Kentucky with 6 interceptions. I'm going to stay away by a mile from Mississippi State in this one. And until you prove otherwise, I'm going to assume that Mississippi State, maybe this is just who they are a little bit. And I don't think you're asking too much to ask Texas A&M to cover in this one. So I'm going to go with the Aggies at just, I mean, you're talking about win by 10 points here. Like, so it's a 7-point spread. If you win by 10, you're covering. So give me the Aggies to cover it at 7.
Yeah, I don't know how confident I am with that spread with Texas A&M, but I do think Texas A&M continue the streak that they have, and they got a great win against Florida this past week, and I think they Kellen Mond looked really good. So I think his confidence grew, and I think he's going to have a great game against Mississippi State. So give me Texas A&M on the money line.
Texas A&M on the money line. All right. Let's stay in the 4 o'clock hour. You got Virginia going to Wake Forest on the ACC network. UMass at Georgia Southern, 4 p.m. ESPN. North Texas at Middle Tennessee State, 5 p.m. CBS Sports Network. Marshall at Louisiana Tech, 6 p.m. CBS Sports Network. And on ABC at 7:30, the North Carolina Tar Heels travel to Doak Campbell Stadium. And normally I'd be really fired up about the number 5 North Carolina Tar Heels traveling to Florida State to play. But North Carolina is a 14-point favorite at Doak Campbell Stadium. What? That just shows, not that I'm actually surprised for this year, but it sounds weird to say, even knowing all the facts. 14-point favorite, though, that might be a little rich for my blood. The -550 on the money line, not enough juice for the squeezes, you like to say, and the total is sitting at 64. Rob, I know FSU came out. They showed a couple of drives last week where they had a little bit of life with new quarterback Jordan Travis. Definitely think he runs around a little bit and creates. North Carolina, they kind of get these high-scoring games. We saw it against Virginia Tech last week, but I think Virginia Tech's probably a lot better than Florida State. I'm leaning toward the over at 64 in this one, just because I don't like the other spreads. How you feeling about this? And you know what? Pencil me in for that. I'm taking the over at 64.
Yeah. Once again, I think you just like you said, this is kind of weird with North Carolina going on the road to Doak Campbell Stadium, being a 14-point favorite. That just goes to show you the program that Florida State is in right now, the state of the program that Florida State has right now. And that goes to show you, Mac Brown and the Tar Heels, coming along. But once again, all this game is going to be about Sam Howell, and I think that offense is rolling. So actually, it's surprising, but give me North Carolina with the 14. I'm very confident in Sam Howell and that offense with Mac Brown coaching that they can cover that 14. I just don't think Florida State can get it done. I know they made the move to Jordan Travis, but once again, this North Carolina team is really good, Nick. So they're gonna show it later in the year, but I just think they really cover the spread against Florida State.
I had confidence in the -14. I would have had confidence in the -14 had they not given up so many points last week to Virginia Tech. Granted, a lot different offense. The other storyline to watch in this game, this would be the second quarterback that was a one-time Florida State commit coming in to beat the Seminoles at Doak Campbell this year. So keep that in mind if that rubs any salt in the wound of any Florida State fans out there. All right. Southern Miss at UTEP, 7:30 ESPN2, 8 p.m. CBS. Number 3, the Georgia Bulldogs versus number 2, Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama, 4-point favorites, -175 on the money line, and the total is at 56. Rob, the Georgia defense is excellent from what we've seen so far. They've done a good job shutting teams down, even when they struggled in that first half of Arkansas. The defense did its part. So we've seen that Georgia defense do their job consistently. I like Stetson Bennett, man. I don't have anything real negative to say about him. He's good performance. Like both time or 3 games he's been in there, he kind of just is. He kind of just does what the coaches ask him to do. It seems like he's not doing anything all that fancy, but when he gets in trouble and needs to run a little bit, he's capable of doing that too. So I think Stetson Bennett brings a lot to it. But Mac Jones has been probably the best quarterback in the SEC to this point, outside of maybe Matt Corral at Ole Miss. But we'll give Mac Jones the nod because he went head-to-head and they won the game last week. But I really like what Bama's doing so far on the offensive side of the ball. The defense gives me pause and a little concern. But Nick Saban at home, even though, by the way, we just found out today, Saban and AD Greg Byrne tested positive for COVID. So looking doubtful that he'd be. You think it's probably doubtful? I'm thinking it'd probably be doubtful that he's on the sidelines, but who knows? Nick Saban, they'll probably invent something, Alabama, for him to be there. Who knows? But I don't like the spread in this one. I think Alabama can cover the 4, but give me the Tide at home in this one. I'll just take Alabama on the money line.
Yeah, you mentioned it with Nick Saban and AD Greg Berg testing positive for COVID. So that's kind of in limbo right now whether Nick Saban is going to be on the sidelines or not. But actually, this is my upset of the week. I really think Georgia is going to go in and beat Alabama. Give me Georgia on the money line. That defense is elite, and I know Alabama kind of struggled with Ole Miss last week. Stetson Bennett, he just has to manage the game. But if this Georgia defense can get pressure on Mac Jones and kind of stop Najee Harris in that running game, give me Georgia. I think Georgia is an elite team. That defense is definitely elite. They have the players to match up on the back end with Waddle and Devontae Smith. So I really like this Georgia defense a lot. And this is definitely my upset of the week. Georgia on the money line. Give me Georgia on the money line, Nick.
I'm very excited to watch that Georgia defense against the Alabama offense. So 8 p.m. on Saturday, CBS, Dogs, Tide. Should be a fun one. Boston College goes to Virginia Tech, also at 8 p.m. The Hokies, 12-point favorites over the Eagles. Minus 450 on the money line, and the total is at 62. Minus 12. What? I mean, Virginia Tech, they looked okay in a couple of games, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but Boston College been playing pretty good football, Rob.
They have, and that spread is definitely something I'm not confident with taking. I just don't like that line right now. So if you're going to give me 12.5 with that, I'm definitely going to
just 12. Don't get greedy. Just 12.
Yeah, but just like you said, Boston College has been playing some good football. So give me Boston College getting the points. So I'm with you. I'm confident in that one.
I'm with you. The last game, I feel like we keep saving them for last. The last game on Saturday night here, 8 p.m. kickoff. FIU goes to Charlotte. So got to get your 49ers in on a podcast episode.
Yeah. Once again, Charlotte. That is my alma mater. But once again, give me FIU on the money line in Dallas.
Oh, I'm not making you pick that one. You didn't have to diss your alumni. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to.
Yeah, I kind of had to. I
bonus
just
pick.
I just kind of need them to kick it up a gear. But once again, it's they're new upstart program. They haven't been in the league that long, so they don't have all the talent that they need to kind of compete, week in and week out. But they're getting there. But once again, give me FIU on the money line. Bonus pick for the viewers and the fans out there. Nick.
All right, so we got through we walked you through the college football Saturday. Rob gave you a bonus pick too, so we picked several games and he gave you a bonus. But before we cut over the NFL side, let me just remind you that American Football Stories is brought to you by Coach Paint. Coach Paint is a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips, similar to the graphics you see on TV. Coach Paint offers the ability to clearly illustrate video while increasing retention of information in a shorter amount of time. Up your game with Coach Paint today. Welcome to the NFL portion of tonight's Picks podcast. All right, let's cover a couple of the craziness in the NFL Rob, we always got to do a little update before we dive in. So first off, you got your bye weeks: the Raiders, Saints, Chargers, Seahawks. Thursday night's game was originally scheduled Kansas City at Buffalo. It's been pushed to Monday night to compensate for the Bills' COVID delayed Tuesday night game against the Titans, in which Tennessee just whooped up on the Bills. Didn't really see that kind of beating coming. I thought it was going to be at least competitive. I thought the Bills were probably going to win that one. Actually, we didn't pick that one last week though. NFL also confirmed no Pro Bowl this season. Rob, do you care?
Yeah, I really don't care.
Me neither.
The cachet from the Pro Bowl bin kind of went away a long time ago. But I just want to get back onto the Tuesday night game that we actually witnessed last night. Did you see that Derrick Henry stiff arm on Josh Norman?
I saw that and all the memes they made out of it. Yeah.
That was a grown man move right there.
Typical Derrick Henry, though. I think go back, he did that to the Jaguars a couple years ago. I think he's got a few of those floating around. Typical.
Yeah, that's a big guy, man. You can't tackle him up high. You have to take his legs out or something. What was Josh Norman thinking on that one?
Well, let's talk about the Titans. That's our opening game, actually. Houston at Tennessee, 1 p.m. on. So you got no Thursday night games, no weeknight games to the NFL this week, other than a Monday and Tuesday night game, I guess. So you kind of got a weeknight game. So Sunday, October 18th here, Houston at Tennessee, 1 p.m. CBS. The Titans are 3-point favorites, minus 190 on the money line, and the total is at 53. Rob, you had to have been impressed with the Buffalo win here for this Tennessee team. The question with the Titans, I think there were people who are picking them coming in, but I kind of felt like they were like a lazy preseason pick. Like, I know they could put it together, but like we saw Ryan Tannehill string together like a career run down the stretch of last season. And it just felt like one of those stories that was going to be tough to duplicate. The Titans are currently sitting at 4-0. And granted, their first 3 wins are against the Broncos, Jaguars, and Vikings. No offense, Rob. No, you like your Vikings, but no offense. Not an awesome resume. But then when you beat up on the Bills like that, and let's give a little bit of like, we'll give Buffalo a little bit of credit for the fact that this game was moved around a bit, but Tennessee dealt with the same thing. And oh, by the way, Tennessee's the one actually dealing with the COVID situation. But to go out and just stomp them that badly, that's very impressive. You got the Texans this week, which let's just pick this game first. The Texans coming off of finally getting a win after finally firing Bill O'Brien. But of course, the Texans played Murderers Row to open the season, but they go to 1-4 now, and they're coming in here with a little bit of fresh start under Romeo Crennel. Brandon Cooks kind of had a coming out party on Sunday for them. I still think the Titans are a clear favorite, the clear team to pick here, though. So I'm gonna take the Titans at -3 before we go forward with our Titans conversation. How do you see this game playing out, Rob?
Yeah, once again, I think that Titans defense is, one of the better defenses in the NFL right now. And if you look at the Texans are 1-4 against the spread. So I just like you said, they started out in Murderers Row with the teams that they face. But once again, Deshaun Watson is definitely going to keep, Houston in there. But overall, I think the Tennessee Titans team is just a great team overall on both sides of the ball. So give me Titans with the spread as well.
So we both like Titans -3. All right. So back to my bigger picture Tennessee conversation here. So it's looking like last year was not as fluky as I originally thought it was. Well, I think Mike Vrabel is a great coach. He's definitely like one of the more probably one of my favorite NFL coaches right now. I just like the guy's personality. But you got the Texans, the Steelers at Cincinnati versus Chicago versus Indy. Let's play that find that loss. We don't think it's Houston. Pittsburgh, that's a winnable game right there. If you get by the Steelers game and you're 6-0 start, you got Cincinnati, Chicago, and then Indy. I mean, you're almost this Titans team could easily open 8-0, Rob.
They very well could. But once again, this Bears team is surprising me every week. The Bears knocked off Tampa Bay on that Thursday night game. And
I'm not respecting Chicago with that.
With Nick Foles at the quarterback, clearly they're pushing the ball downfield. I know Allen Robinson is enjoying it. It's talks out there that the Bears might pick up Le'Veon Bell. So if that happens, during that time frame, I'm definitely going to lean towards the Bears to win that one. So that might be
All right.
Tennessee's first
Fair.
loss.
Fair. But I guess what my question was going to be that I was going to drive at is this Titans seems really kind of in the hunt for the number 1 spot for playoff run now.
Yeah, they really are. And just like you said, Vrabel's a great coach and they're solid on both sides of the ball. Just like you said, I don't think, last year is as fluky as many people thought. So they're coming in. And if you look at it, Derrick Henry hasn't been playing his best ball so far. So, he's one of those running backs that warms up towards the end of the year.
Diesel.
So if Derrick Henry gets going and, Corey Davis comes back off the COVID list, then, A.J. Brown is playing lights out at the other receiver position. So Ryan Tannehill at the quarterback, I think they have the pieces to kind of, get out the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, the division's already looking pretty good. The nearest challenger is the Indianapolis Colts at 3-2. So they already basically got a 1.5 lead, a 2-game lead in the loss column already. So looking good for the Titans. All right, let's go to Indy. Staying in the AFC South, they're going to host the Cincinnati Bengals. Colts are 8-point favorites, -400 on the money line, and the over/under is set at 46.5. Yeah, I mean, we both have liked Joe Burrow. He's been off to a good start, but last week was humbling to say the least against Baltimore. Offense totally shut down. The Bengals only get 3 points. Colts, on the other hand, they go to Cleveland, and everyone, for all of the raving about that defense that's been done, the Browns laid it on them pretty good. I mean, I don't know how good I think we talked about that last week, or one of the things I was worried about with the Colts. It was the fact that, again, Jaguars, Vikings, Jets, Bears, not exactly an elite set of offenses. So you might statistically look good, but not exactly playing the most elite offenses so far. 8-point favorites. I think the Colts can definitely cover this 8. And even though the -400, that's a lot, not a lot of juice for the squeeze. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with the Colts on the money line and just keep it simple in this one. Not overthink it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just like you said, a humbling experience for Joe Burrow this past week. Just kind of getting knocked down and banged up, and I kind of see that once again, going against the Colts defense, who's really, really good. So
against bad offenses.
Yeah, give me the Colts on the money line with that one. I'm not super confident in taking the 8, but I do think the Colts can win this game outright.
Yeah, really, and honestly, I think both of us are kind of hearing it in what we're describing a little bit. Maybe we're not articulating it as well, but just to be clear, I'm nervous about the -8 because I think Joe Burrow could pop off at any time. So that's out of respect for Joe Burrow. And we saw Joe Mixon go off a couple weeks ago. We know the Bengals got a few weapons that if they get hot, they could definitely cover that 8, no problem. So that's why I like the Colts on the money line as well in that one. All right, let's go up to Minnesota. You got the Atlanta Falcons, fresh off of firing Dan Quinn and GM Thomas Dimitroff. Tough start to the season for the 0-5 Falcons. A lot of people saw that one coming. The Vikings. Good performance at Seattle last week. We've seen 2 decent performances out of them the last couple of weeks after a rough start to the season. Got to think they could get this one here. Got to think they could get this one at home. Raheem Morris takes over as the interim coach for Atlanta. Rob, I'm going to let you do the honors on this one. Minnesota -4, -210 on the money line, and the total's at 54.5. What do you see for this one?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to this game. Just like you said, Raheem Morris, the interim coach that steps in after the firing of Dan Quinn, the GM is out. Then you have the owner, Arthur Blank, who pretty much say, hey, Matt Ryan is not the future of the Falcons, in a sense. And, Julio Jones has kind of been banged up. And I'm actually might be going with your tank for Trevor Lawrence pick when it comes to the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons is tanking. I just think, they can't close out games. And just like you said, the Vikings had a great game last week against the Seahawks that they should have won. I think they get it done this week at home. So give me the Vikings to cover the spread.
I like them to cover as well. Minnesota at -4. I'm going to take the same thing. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Atlanta the tank for Trevor thing, that wasn't exactly the plan coming into the season. Just kind of is happening that way. All right, Denver at New England, 1 p.m. CBS. This game was supposed to be played last week, I believe. It was pushed back to this week due to COVID concerns. But Cam Newton's been activated from the COVID watch list, or I call it the watch list, the COVID list. He's back playing football. The Pats are 10-point favorites, minus 450 on the money line, and the total is at 45 in this one. Rob, what do you think about the Broncos coming into this game?
Yeah, I mean, you had big news with the DUI that Melvin Ingram got. So, they're probably going to have to lean on a banged up Philip Lindsay and Booker. But
Melvin Gordon?
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, just double checking.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon. Yeah, with the DUI, so he definitely might be out probably this game. Probably the league is going to come down hard on that. But once again, just like you said, Cam Newton is definitely activated, and I think he's ready to go. So give me Patriots on the money line in this one.
Yeah, I'm seeing. And have I seen correctly that Drew Lock is going to start in this one?
Yeah, I was reading a little bit of reports that Drew Lock might be back, but even with that, so I think Patriots and Bill Belichick is definitely gonna scheme up something, and it's gonna be a lot of rust there for Drew Lock. So I really like the Patriots in this one to get the win. Just like I said, the Patriots on the money line.
I agree with you. The Pats are gonna win. I think they're gonna stomp them. Cam Newton or Cam Newton minus 10. I don't even think it's a problem. So I'm taking New England in the points at minus 10 on that one. Very confident in that game. All right. The Washington football team travels to New York to face the Giants, 1 p.m. on Fox. We saw Alex Smith take some snaps for Washington last week. We saw Kyle Allen start the game. Rumors, which we don't really love to dive into too deep, but it's a little weird. The Dwayne Haskins thing, let's just call it for what it is. It's weird. He's still absent from the team. And there's the team saying it's due to illness, but it's not COVID-19, but it's illness. Okay. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe they benched him to send him a message because he was bragging about his stats in the locker room. Maybe he didn't. We don't know. But there's weird stories floating around out there. I'm not sure this is the best way to handle your young quarterback, but I like Ron Rivera. I trust Ron Rivera. I think this Washington team, they've showed some fight. Last week was kind of a beatdown, but they've shown some fight the rest of the season. If maybe things are going to get worse before they get better type of thing. The Giants have been competitive in every single game they played. And you look at this, go, man, this is a game that you would think that they can get. But I'm just not sure. I'm not confident. And I really don't like both of these offenses. So I'm going to stay away from the pick, and I'm going to take the under at 43, even though the Giants are 2.5 point favorite, minus 140 on the money line. The total's at 43 even. I'm going to take the under at 43.
Yeah, Nick. I know we played a game from time to time, find your win. And actually, I think this might be the Giants' first win. So I'm pretty confident in them to get this win. Once again, just like you said, they've been playing tough, been scrappy. Definitely should have won that game against Dallas last week. They kind of gave that one away towards the end of the game. So I think they bounce back and get their first win of the year in this one. So I'm going to take Giants on the money line.
Giants on the money line. It might be the time to get a win for them this year. All right, Baltimore goes to Philly, 1 p.m. CBS. The how low can you go game for Philadelphia. The Eagles, 8-point underdogs at home, minus 370 for the Ravens on the money line. And the total is sitting at 47.5. Rob, I've been trying to defend Philly. I've been egging them on to keep the faith. You're only one game behind Dallas, and they just lost Dak Prescott. You're not done this season. This would be a great opportunity to stand up and show some fight. I just don't. I think that there's one team is just clearly better than the other here. Do I think the Ravens are recover rate? Yes, I do. I'm not even going to try to pretend in this game. I've defended Philly. I've even picked Philly a couple times the last couple weeks, but I can't do it here. I'm going to take the Ravens at -8.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think, the Ravens on both sides of the balls is going to be too much for the Eagles. That offense and that defense is just it's too good. I think Lamar Jackson actually has one of those Lamar Jackson games that we've seen him, have last year, and he just kind of breaks out that the mundane shell that he's kind of been playing in. So give me Ravens with the spread. I'm all over that. So if I was the fans out there and the listeners, I was definitely load up on that one. The Eagles are just decimated on both sides of the ball. Carson Wentz still seems like he's trying to find himself within that offense. And they played the Steelers pretty tough last week, but once again they kind of gave that away. So I'm all over the Ravens on this one with the spread, Nick.
Yeah, Philly. Even when you get your butts kicked this weekend, you're still in the hunt. Relax. You got the Giants, Cowboys, and Giants the next 3 weeks. You win those 3 games, you're right back in this thing. So don't overreact on Sunday, okay? All right, let's go. AFC North rivalry here. This might be the game of the 1:00 hour here. The Browns are going to Pittsburgh. Steelers 3.5-point favorites, -170 on the money line, and the total is at 51. Pittsburgh, they're kind of up and down. I'm not totally sure what to think of him. Chase Claypool, he put on quite a show this past week. Put up 4 TDs for the Steelers. Got a lot of attention for that. But what might have slipped through the cracks is that they almost blew the game to the Eagles, man. The Eagles, they had their shots at the end, and I feel like they did that against the Broncos too. I'm not sold on the Steelers team just yet. I've been high on the Browns, but I am high on them as a wild card team, not as the best team in the division. I think the Ravens probably still hold that crown, but Big Ben, the Steelers, this is just me giving Big Ben and Pittsburgh respect. I think Cleveland definitely could go in here and win this game. They could definitely give Pittsburgh a hard time. But this is a big prove it game for the Brownies. If the Brownies come out of here with a win, be fired up, Cleveland, because the playoffs are happening. You'll get to 5-1. The playoffs are happening. What I don't want to see, though, and I'll be concerned, and you can rip on me on Sunday if you see this, I don't want to see another egg like we saw at Baltimore to open the season if you're the Browns. You got to compete. Go in there and compete. At least show us some life. You did it against Dallas. You've done it a couple other times this season against Indy. Nice win last week against Indy. If they somehow win this game, great for them. If not, at least show you compete. All right, Steelers, I'm going to take them on the money line.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go opposite of you, Nick. I know you've been kind of high on this Browns
You're the
team.
Browns guy now.
Yeah, I know you've been high on this Browns team all year long, and I'm actually going to hop on the bandwagon. I think
he's on it. It only took 2 weeks.
I think that offense is clicking, and one thing that we haven't really seen is a healthy Browns defense altogether. So I think they're coming along on the defense side of the ball, kind of getting some of their main guys back. And I really like the Browns to go out and, cover the spread in this one. Just like you said, they have the potential to win. But once again, I'm on the bandwagon, but they still have to show me a little bit more. But I am going to take Browns to cover this spread.
Browns at +3.5. Hey, look, you could do it, Cleveland, but you got to prove it. It's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's always had their number. All right, Chicago goes Carolina. 1 p.m. on Fox. I might have spoke too soon when I said that it's game of the day. This is quietly the game of the 1 p.m. hour because Nick Foles and the Bears, they beat Tom Brady and the Bucs at home. They got a last-minute field goal to win the game. Foles going to keep him steady. He's just going to keep him in games. He's not going to turn the ball over a ton, make a ton of mistakes. Man, I like this Panthers team though. I said last week I'm done underestimating them. It looks like Vegas is too because they're favored by 1.5 in this game, -125 on the money line, and the over/under is set at 45. Teddy Bridgewater and Nick Foles. I'm interested to watch this QB duel. The defenses might rise up in this one, but I think that both these QBs are going to be making big plays left and right on the field, even if the game only ends up being something like 20-17.
Yeah, once again, you're right. This Panthers team, they're 3-0 without Christian McCaffrey, and Teddy Bridgewater has kind of been playing lights out. So has Robbie Anderson, and Mike Davis at the running back position. So I really like, the Panthers at home in this one. I think the Bears, they beat Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. they're probably feeling themselves, and they're going to come into Carolina and they're going to come out flat. So I like Teddy Two Gloves in this one. Give me Carolina on the money line, Nick.
Carolina on the money line. I'll take the Panthers at -1.5 on that one. Yeah, done underestimating Carolina. Chicago, good win against Tampa, but go on the road and do it again. All right, Detroit goes down to Jacksonville, 1 p.m. on Fox. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites, -180 on the money line, and the total is at 54.5. Jags defense just it's been a bad year. It's been a bad year. You know, you started off with a little bit of shimmer of hope, and then since that Thursday night game with the Titans, the Bengals put up 33, the Texans put up 30. I mean, you're giving up 30. You're getting up 30 for 4 out of 5 games of your season, 30 plus here. So the Lions come into this one. I got to think this is an absolute must win. You're at 2-3. I'm not taking the Lions too seriously as a playoff team, but they blew a close game against Chicago. They blew a close game against New Orleans. You know, the Packers, they were up big on. They got to win at Arizona. This Lions team is not bad. It just hasn't been winning. You got to find ways to win. Do you see any chance that the Jaguars could give the Lions a hard time in this one, or do you think that Jaguars defense is just too far gone and we're going to see another big number by a Jaguars opponent on Sunday?
Yeah, you're right on that Jaguars defense is horrible if you ask me, Nick. But once again, the Lions, I just don't trust the Lions, so I'm willing to take Jaguars and Gardner Minshew with the points in this one, Nick.
So you're taking the Jags at +3.5. I will take the over at 54.5 because even though I don't trust the Jaguars, I definitely don't trust the Lions either. So I'll take the over. I think there's going to be some points scored on Sunday. So over 54.5. All right, the Jets go to Miami, 405 CBS, and the Jets. The big headlines for the Jets this year have just been how terrible they are overall. But they made a splash this week. They released Le'Veon Bell. The marriage between Adam Gase and Le'Veon Bell, it didn't really get off to a good start, did it, Robert? And it never really repaired itself along the way.
Yeah, not much. I pretty much seen this coming a mile away. It just, that relationship was just, combustible. And I guess it kind of boiled over, and it ended up with Le'Veon Bell getting released. But once again, he's a talented player. He's going to bounce back on another team. But let's just get to the Jets. And Adam Gase and this team is just horrible. You see Joe Flacco come out and, be the quarterback with the Sam Darnold injury. I really think Miami is playing good ball. So that is a high spread for Miami. But I think, Ryan Fitzpatrick and his Dolphins team is really, really playing well. So give me Dolphins with the points in this one. I really think the Jets is just a horrible team. We might see the Jets go at, winless on the year. So I really like Miami in this one. I'm going to roll with Ryan Fitzpatrick all day in this one.
Yeah, maybe we're both a little high on the Dolphins after that 49ers performance last week. But I think this Miami team, they've been playing well against good teams all year. Why shouldn't they stop the Jets? Joe Flacco is probably going to be rolling out. I think Sam Darnold's still not practicing. And man, I mean, if you're Trevor Lawrence, you might just say you don't want to play for the Jets, period. Get that out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, once again, you don't want the same thing that happened to Sam Darnold that happened to Trevor Lawrence. It just seems like, Darnold doesn't have a lot of weapons around him. You try to get Bell in there, but once again, the relationship between him and Adam Gase seemed like it never worked out. So I don't think Trevor Lawrence wanted to go to the Jets at all.
What was Gase's issue? The contract itself? Like, was he not consulted with it? Is that what he was mad about?
I think it was a multitude of a lot of things, Nick. Le'Veon Bell, you kind of had that guy coming into the locker room, and you kind of want to keep your locker room intact or whatever. You don't want to have that ego in there. But I think Adam Gase had probably one of the biggest egos, out there in the NFL world, because it just seems like, he didn't use Le'Veon Bell the way that, he's capable of using him. So it just didn't work out. But, I think, the loser in this whole thing is going to be Adam Gase, because I think Le'Veon will bounce back and get a job before Adam Gase gets his job after he gets fired.
I mean, I can understand maybe like having some personality differences, or maybe you don't like the contract, you're not happy the team signed him. But at what point do you recognize I have Le'Veon Bell and just use him and shut up about it? Like, just come on, dude. You got one of the best running backs in football. Use him. I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. Maybe it's a lot lesson to some running backs out there. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, he did that whole holdout thing in Pittsburgh, and where's it really got him? Do you think he'd be better off if he stayed in Pittsburgh with Big Ben? Hell yeah. So, like, maybe it's a lesson a little bit that the grass isn't always greener out there, and he's definitely not making a lot more. You know, his contract, his whole strategy was a loss too. So as bad as this was for the Jets, as bad as it was for Adam Gase, it was just as bad for Le'Veon Bell. But I mean, on the other hand, you got to go to the market and choose where you play now. So it was maybe it's kind of a win. I don't know. If you want to look at it that way, fine. But in my mind, this whole situation with the Jets and Bell, lose, just all across the board. Nobody won that one. All right, Green Bay at Tampa Bay, 425. Fox pretty fired up for this one. Rob, this is a must-win game for the Bucs. You know, the good news is everybody in the NFC South is 3-2 except for the Falcons. So 3-team race between the Saints, Panthers, and Bucs. Everybody's at 3-2. Packers coming in at 4-0. Packers looking strong. Looking like Green Bay and Seattle are up there in the NFC. But do you think a desperate Tampa Bay team coming off a game that they really had, they should have beat Chicago. That's one they really should have had that could cost them home field later on. This is kind of a must win for Tampa, in my opinion. I think this is a must win if you want to talk about a 1 or 2 seed anyway, because you're going head to head with one of those teams you're competing with for that 1 or 2 seed. So must win here for Tampa. And yet Green Bay is a 1-point favorite, minus 115 on the money line, and the over under is at 55. Yeah, I like the Bucs at home to get it done, Rob. I'll take Tampa. Give me that point just for extra security.
Yeah. Once again, you're right. You're spot on with this being a must win for Tampa Bay. However, you know, I've been high on Aaron Rodgers all year long, but I think, you know, Aaron Rodgers suffers his first loss this week. I think, you know, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers bounce back and they get the win. I think, you know, Tampa Bay's defense does enough to kind of keep Aaron Rodgers out of the end zone as much. And Tom Brady puts up more points. So give me Tampa Bay on the money line in this one. I think, you know, they get the win, and Green Bay gets their first loss of the season.
Yeah, what am I doing with that +1? I'm going to switch that to the money line as well. I'm not buying anything with 1 point anyway. I'll take Tampa on the money line too. I was looking at that. The odds are it's minus 115 for +1, minus 105 on the money line. I'll take that minus 105 on the money line. All right, Sunday Night Football, the Rams go to San Francisco. Depleted 49ers roster. We saw Jimmy G get pulled last Sunday. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites, minus 170 on the money line. The total is at 51.5 over under. Yeah, 3.5 points. Am I reading that wrong? It's even odds at 3.5 points. I'll take that all day. Give me the Rams at minus 3.5.
Yeah, that line definitely sounds a little looks a little low, especially with the performance that, you know, San Francisco put up last week against the Dolphins. But once again, I think, you know, Sean McVay and Jared Goff has this offense rolling, and, you know, you have one of the best defensive players in Aaron Donald on that side of the ball. So once again, give me the Rams in this one with the points.
Yeah, I think San Francisco is going to be a tough year. It's going to be a tough year, but hey, let's keep putting them on Sunday Night Football. This one did look good at the beginning of the season. Can't blame the pick. All right, Monday night, Kansas City at Buffalo, 5 p.m. Fox in the NFL Network. The Chiefs minus 3.5-point favorites, minus 200 on the money line, and the total is at 57.5. All right, Buffalo. This game lost a little luster. If you lose this one, though, you're down to 4-2, and the Pats are right there, a half game behind you. Really need this one if you're Buffalo. You really need this win. However, it's Kansas City. I'm sorry. I'm going to pick them. I know they finally lost the game last week. I don't see them losing 2 in a row. I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one until Buffalo proves otherwise. I'm going to take Kansas City, and I'll lay the 3.5 with Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Nick. I just don't see the Chiefs losing 2 in a row. The Bills kind of, hit the wall this past week against Tennessee. Maybe it's an anomaly. They did have a lot of players out. Tre'Davious White, one of their top corners, was out, and AJ Brown kind of pretty much had a field day. But once again, if he's not good to go against the Chiefs, I think Tyreek Hill and company is going to be, too much for the Bills to cover. So give me the Chiefs with the points on this one, minus the 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Yep, not a bad pick at all. All right, Arizona at Dallas, 8:15 ESPN, the original scheduled Monday Night Football game. Man, this would be an extra fun game if Dak were playing. But you got a very capable backup in Andy Dalton. I wouldn't press the total panic button yet in Dallas in terms of – you press the panic button in terms of a Super Bowl, but guess what? With your defense, you weren't going to a Super Bowl anyway this year. I was just looking forward to watching the Dak show every week, see how many yards he could put up to catch up from all those 14-point deficits the defense keeps putting them in. But I don't think Andy Dalton will do that. However, I think that the brand of football starts to change a little bit. You see Zeke start getting the rock a little more. We talked about that on last week's podcast, Rob. It's going to slow down. I think that pace will become more deliberate if you're Dallas. In some of these high-scoring games, they might go out the window a little bit because I don't think Andy Dalton's playing that style of ball. You got Arizona coming into this one as 2-point favorite, minus 130 on the money line, and it totals at 55. Hey, Arizona, if you're competing for a playoff spot, going on the road and beating Andy Dalton in a bad defense in Dallas, got to get this one done. I'm going to give it to the Cards because I like them. I'm going to take Arizona at -2.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite on you, Nick. I think, the team rally around Andy Dalton and they kind of play for Dak, moving forward for the rest of the year. I think they give it their all. I think the Cowboys get back to 300 in this one and they win this one. So give me Cowboys on the money line. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I think the Cowboys is going to be able to pull it off. So give me Cowboys on the money line in this one.
Yeah, but Dak has D and Dallas doesn't. So the name he's got a D in his name. Dallas has nothing. So there's no defense on the field for Dallas. So you still, even with that defense, you like that defense with Kyler Murray coming into town?
Yeah, I don't like Dallas defense with anyone coming into town, but once again, I really think they give it their all and they kind of squeak out this win for Dak and they kind of get this win for Dak and the team rallies around everybody. Andy Dalton, just like you said, I think it's not going to be that same offense where you're throwing the ball downfield. You're definitely going to hand it off to Zeke. But once again, Andy Dalton's a capable quarterback. He did play with A.J. Green, and now he has multiple weapons out there with C.D. Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper. So, maybe the more weapons is the better for Andy Dalton, and we shall see that moving forward. But I think Cowboys, rally around Dak and get the win for Dak and move forward. And, they get the win. So I'm going to go with Cowboys with the outright win in this one on the money line.
Dallas on the money line. I think Jerry Jones is going to this is going to be like the ghost of like Christmas future coming to visit Jerry Jones. He's going to see what life looks like without Dak Prescott, and I don't think he's going to like it. So ironically, Dak might do more earning a contract sitting in bed with his leg in a cast than he would on the field. So, all right, that's it for this week. You got any final thoughts, Rob?
Once again, you just reach out and we pray out for speedy recovery for Dak Prescott and all the injuries that's happened so far. But that was a gruesome injury, so you just take your hat off and being the competitor that Dak is, he's going to bounce back, he's going to rehab and great gracious words that Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones put out there. So hopefully Dak Prescott is going to be the the quarterback of the future for the Cowboys, but we shall see. But other than that, that's it for me, Nick. If you have anything that you want to dive into.
Nope. None for me. But I do want to dive into the Did You Know question of the episode, brought to you by Coach Paint.
All right, let's go for it.
All right. So what I want to know is who was the future U.S. president who forgot to bring a ball to the Stanford and Cal game when they met for the first time in 1892. It caused a delay to the game because he was the manager of the team at Stanford. and he forgot to bring a ball in 1892. All right. I hope you know your U.S. presidents, Rob.
Wow. Well,
So
we're going into
you got to do the math here, right? 1892. So you're really talking about president kind of like, about 20, 30 years later. I'm not going to give you the exact time range, otherwise you'll get it. So do the math on that. You could do that while you're doing the math. We'll go out for break. American Football Stories is brought to you by CoachPaint. CoachPaint is a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips, similar to the graphics you see on TV. CoachPaint offers the ability to clearly tell a straight video while increasing retention of information in a short amount of time. Up your game with CoachPaint today. All right, Rob, before we left, I asked you who the future president was who attended Stanford, who forgot a football. He was a student manager of the Stanford football team, forgot a football, and it delayed the first meeting of Stanford and Cal in 1892. Name that president.
Oof! Wow! We're going back. We're doing some U.S. history.
It wasn't Abraham Lincoln.
That was going to be my answer. Honest Abe. But wow, you took it right off my tongue, Nick. Man,
I hope it wasn't, man. You got to do a little better in history class than that.
Yeah. Oh wow. We're going back, and you said 1892, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going.
You're just
going
Googling.
through,
You're just Googling.
Going through my presidencies. Wow.
Right off the old noggin, huh?
Can we get a multiple choice on this one?
I probably should have done multiple choice if I knew you were going to come at it with Abraham Lincoln. Damn. Like I probably should have done a multiple choice.
Yeah,
No,
I
you know what?
should've.
No, normally I'm a generous guy. Tonight I'm not. No generosity tonight.
Wow, no generosity.
You should know where all your presidents went to college too. Total embarrassment.
Wow. I'm definitely stumped on that one. You got to throw me a lifeline on this one, Nick. I get you back on the next. Did you know? But yeah.
All right, here's your lifeline. His name rhymes with Schmerbert Schmoover.
Schmerber. Oh man, that's the best lifeline you can give me, Nick. I mean, I hear you. Like you're. Yeah, you got to give me something better than that one, Nick. Come on, help me out. Help your guy out.
Come on, man. Schmerber Schmoover. Let's go.
Schmerber Schmoover.
Yeah, just guess a name that sounds like it.
I mean, it's definitely not Hoover, is it?
Yeah, Herbert Hoover, man. You got
Herbert
it.
Hoover. Oh, man.
Got it. Absolutely no credit given for that, though. Come on, man.
I mean,
Schmoover. Come on.
I might have got the question wrong, but come on, Nick. You have to give me a better lifeline than that one.
You don't get a much better lifeline than Schmoover when the answer is Herbert Hoover, but in fairness to the lifeline. But I will give you that. That probably should have been a multiple choice question. That should have been a multiple choice question. I'll give you that. So, all right, man. Well, any other things to add tonight before you read us out?
Nothing else to add. So with that being said, we would just like to thank the audience for listening to this episode of American Football Stories. Once again, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And please subscribe and rate us 5 stars. And follow us on Twitter at American FB Story, and check out our website at AmericanFootballStories.com. Once again, my name is Robert Parker III, and my co-host is Nick Newsom. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next episode.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
I hope there's Bigfoot. I don't think there is. The reason I don't think there is because we found bones of dinosaurs and everything else, but we haven't found bones that I've heard of Bigfoot.
I'm very upset. We shouldn't have been in the ball game with fast field goal. The coach had sent him in. We shouldn't have sent him in. That's a dang coaching mistake. The kids are playing their tail off, and the coaches are screwing it up.
We just got to stop that little inside trap. You know, the option didn't hurt us much. We played pretty hard. We just got to stop that inside thing. Offensively, we kind of sputtered around, got the ball in the end zone. You know, defensively, we got to get out off the field on that 2-minute drive.
Injuries to your offensive line. What do you do in the second half?
Oh, we're just going to play. We just got to keep playing.
Thank you, Coach.
He has a magnificent personality, I'll tell you.
We receive a lot of mail during the course of the season, and a lot of it's good mail, a lot of it's bad. And one of the
I would say that most of it is good, though, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd say 95 to 98% of the mail we get is always good.
But the one question that keeps coming up where Woody Hayes' name is involved, they say you're a man of no mercy. And yet,
you know, frankly, I don't care much what they think.